That's okay. They can make it happen if they want to.
All right, great. Good morning. Let's call this Rankin County Board of Supervisors meeting in order. We'll start the meeting this morning with invocation. Historically, we've always done it with our lead counsel, Mr. Craig Slade. Put everybody on notice. I may just be calling potluck before we know it. But Slade, would you start us out this morning? Everybody have a standby prayer ready. Mr. Buster, Mr. Larry, have one ready to go in case we decide to change things up on a whim. There we go. That's right.
You can spend it.
That's right. Jay, be ready.
Lord, we're so grateful again for the privilege that it is to come before you. First and foremost, Lord, we are counting on you, Lord, to be the one that gives us guidance, direction, wisdom, and discernment. Father, thank you that you provide those so abundantly and freely to us when we ask. Father, I pray for Daniel this morning as he leads out. Thank you for his leadership. Thank you for the fact that he's been elevated to this position. You've equipped him for it. Father, thank you for these men who sacrifice, who have given their all, Lord, in service to this community. I pray that you will help them to carry out their responsibilities in a way that's pleasing to you. Father, thank you for those who protect us and preserve our freedoms. Father, thank you for the freedoms that you give us. They come from you, and we acknowledge that to you this morning. In Christ's name, amen.
All right, first section is public comments and recognition. Mr. Brandon Cobb.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Feels like I've been gone for a year. Hadn't seen y'all. This month has been rather long. We're actually, because of the rain this year, we're now just getting into the heavy-duty mosquito fighting part of the season. Usually it starts up about mid-May, and we start seeing lots of numbers, lots of phone calls. Because of the rain, it's kind of held off, but now we're getting into the trenches. We're starting to see the trap numbers go up the last 2 weeks. We're starting to get a lot more phone calls. We're doing a lot more spraying. But fortunately, the numbers are still low by comparison to past years here in Rankin County. And we're trying to stay ahead of them so that they don't get much higher than they are now, and maybe knock them back down some.
Good.
We've been seeing a lot less larva activity throughout the county. Now that's on the public access, private homes and stuff. We try to educate wherever we can. We talk to citizens when we go to inspect houses if we've got a call, do a service request. But as far as like the ditches and few potholes here and there where we inspect throughout the county, the larval count is a lot lower than when we started this 2 years ago. And so it's still looking good. Like I said, we're starting to spray a little bit more than we have been this year. I've never seen it rain so much this late into the season, which has been a blessing and a curse. They can't fly when it's raining, but we can't kill them when it's raining either, so it's been kind of a back and forth. But we are out there. We have picked up our activity even more. In fact, I'm looking at hiring another spray driver here this week, next week, try to get some more trucks out there more often. Is there any questions for me?
I don't. Thanks.
All right.
Done pretty good. Done good. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, old business. A motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Morrow. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Bishop. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. John Sullivan.
3 items. Item A, petition to change the assessment of 2016 real and personal property assessment roll.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow. Second. Second by Mr. Bishop. All in favor? Any opposed?
Item B, petition to adjust the 2016 homestead exemption supplement roll.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor? Any opposed?
And C, our favorite time of year, request approval of 2017 real and personal property assessment roll, and they accept written objections on Monday, August 7th, 2017 at 9 a.m. and set public hearing for August 15th, 9 a.m. and authority to publish public notice in the Rankin County News.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. John Sullivan. Ms. Bridget Herring?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My first item this morning is we have a bid opening for an asphalt paver. The first bid received is from Mid-South Machinery. Bid price $126,990. 36-month guaranteed buyback, $59,990. The second bid is from Puckett Machinery. Bid price $121,924. Guaranteed buyback at 36 months, $35,000. And they had a note, we had a guaranteed delivery within 30 days. They have 7 weeks as an exception. I recommend those be taken under advisement.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes.
My next item is awarding bids for the unit system. It's for the bids we opened on June 19th for semi-annual asphalt and supplies. Y'all have the recommendations in your packet.
Motion to approve is recommended.
We got a motion for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? I'd like to add one thing on this discussion side. Would there be a way, Craig, we could take this in 2 separate motions? And the reason I was going to say that, I'd kind of like to vote for 1 through 7 in one motion, and then 8 through 11 in the second.
Wow.
Well, the first part is dealing with our asphalt and our base and stuff like that. And I'd like to vote against the awarding of that, but don't want to vote necessarily against 8 through 11. So could we do that in 2 separate motions, Jay? Would you have a problem with that?
Nope, that's good.
Bob, would you have a...
I don't have a problem.
All right, I make a motion to approve 1 through 7.
Okay. Got a motion by Mr. Bishop,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrow. All in favor? All opposed? I'd be the nay on that.
Tell me more.
We're having
Because
trouble.
I may be a nay also from the
Yeah.
experience that I've had of waiting and waiting and
Yeah,
waiting.
I took this back probably into last fall, where we were having multiple occasions to where we would have asphalt scheduled, and then we couldn't get our asphalt crews on time onto the site. So we'd get everything ready and prepared, and then we'd bring them in to start, and then we'd leave them. I thought we got that addressed at Christmas time.
Yep.
Then we start back into the spring. I get multiple occasions now where we come in and we begin our asphalt paving. We pull our asphalt company off the site onto another job and leave us sitting there holding with the road store.
Outside the county.
Absolutely. So that was my
So
discussion on
what's the
it.
solution though?
I don't know if there is a solution.
Competition.
Let's see if we can.
Well, we get competition.
I know.
In the
There
bid.
is an
but
alternate also listed in the bids.
We do that anyway.
Primary does not.
We have an
We just
alternate.
have to document.
Right.
I
So
think you just gotta call it one time, instead of just having it, you gotta pull the
Well, I
trigger.
think we
just gotta
actually
pull the
have.
trigger and say,
have we called one this spring?
I think we actually have. Haven't we called it one time, but the others couldn't get to it either? Or was that stripe? That might have been striping, I'm thinking about. Huh? That might have been
I
striping.
think we just have
thinking
one
about
on striping. We don't have any competition.
We don't have any choice now.
Right.
Yeah.
We thought we did.
I'll vote no. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. So. All right. So.
Nay.
So we're not
Right.
awarding them as when y'all are
No.
saying no, not voting for 1 through 7 to be
Well,
awarded
they
today?
are going to win the award 3-2 on the vote.
I
So-
think we had the votes, 3-2.
We already did.
1
Yeah.
through 7, so that passed.
1 through 7 passes
Right.
with a vote of
It does.
3-2, just for the record. It's 3-2 on that.
Yeah.
All right.
The message is probably being delivered.
Okay.
So,
I was hoping we got the message across last fall, but
yeah, maybe
Well,
So I don't know.
there are some reasons though in their defense.
Well, and you're right.
If you
And-
fool
and-
with construction, you understand some of it. So I do, but I do understand their. I agree with you on the inconvenience and the way it does look. But I do understand construction and know there are reasons that sometimes you can't. It doesn't work out that way because you're behind, and you're trying to please more than one job because you're behind on everything because of weather or whatever. So,
I make a motion to approve 8 to 11.
We got a motion by Mr. Bishop to approve 8
Second.
through 11. Second by Mr. Morrison. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. What about the supplies?
Then we'll take
That
that
one
now.
separately.
Yes, ma'am. Another bid, or another motion to accept the semi-annual supplies.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And my last item, we're requesting authority to advertise for one dozer.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Hey, before we're doing that, but just for.
Ms.
me-
Bridget?
No, I'm Mike is who
Okay,
I'd
I'm
like to
sorry.
ask, being he's coming up. But before he gets started, Mike, on the asphalt,
Yes, sir.
didn't you mess with your budget, having to put money back in to the general or because we weren't able to get the asphalt that we needed from this time till September last year?
Yes. I mean,
Because
we
they
was
held us
supposed
up.
to be through with something by September the 26th, and we ended up getting through with that in December the 21st.
Yeah.
So basically what it did
Carry
is,
money over.
it just rolled over,
Right.
but,
But it put us into the next year, which puts us behind for this year.
that's right.
And that's what we're trying to correct.
Right, we're staying 6 months in the rear, basically.
As much
Well,
as
you
we-
end up with if that's happened before me, I mean, you've ended up with 2 or 3 years behind.
Yep.
Is what you've ended up with, Steve, on that.
But some of the years like I said, I'm not just completely defending, but if you're gonna put it out there, all of it. Some of the years prior to you was not the asphalt company's fault.
Right.
I mean, and I understand you wouldn't know that.
Sure.
So I'm just saying, it wasn't their fault.
Right.
So, I don't need to get into where the finger was pointed,
Yeah,
but
and
it
again,
wasn't. So,
all I can address is what I've been exposed to over my time period.
Right.
And I give you my example, Steve, on mine was I had an issue right around the week before Memorial weekend comes in. They come in and we mill a road all the way up on a Monday, Tuesday. Perfect weather for the rest of the week. They stop milling on Monday, Tuesday, go to another private job for another job somewhere else, leave the road destroyed all the way through Memorial Day weekend. So you can imagine the unrest that was going on in my area for that. So that was an irritating side that kind of straw that broke the
was
camel's
there any explanation to why? The reason I'm asking, did they mill a road over here and they're asphalting this road, so they mill this one while they're asphalting this road? I mean, was there any explanation of any kind?
Yeah.
That we know of?
I mean, they wasn't working for us,
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, but, I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm just wanting an explanation of why.
Yeah, well, and they wasn't doing jobs in Rankin County, so
Well,
I think it's a lot like these subcontractors, whether it's building a house or whatever, they get it and they get you tied up and they can tie up 4 or 5 more if they
Right.
spread it out, and it ties
I
the
hope,
hands of the general
me
contractor.
and Buster had a meeting last week, and I hope we've addressed this problem. If we haven't, then,
Yeah.
the direction y'all have to go from there. But Greg may be able to help us out if we,
yeah, well, like you said,
You
the
know,
message
some of
probably
that
being
stuff.
sent, I mean. So.
all right, Mr. Harrison.
I've
Item
got
A.
road work accomplished in June.
Make a motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Request of approval to adopt the new rental fees, rules, regulations for the Rankin County Multipurpose Pavilion located at 649 Marquette Road.
Board wish to entertain a motion? Motion by Mr. Morrow,
Second.
second by Mr. Bishop. Discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Buster.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, let me give you this real quick. It's that change order stuff. I didn't have time to read through it. You scan through it? All right, Mr. Buster. Item A.
Thank you, sir. Item A, Arbor Landing Phase 3A, I'm recommending approval of those construction plans.
I'll make a motion to approve the construction plans. A second? Second by Mr. Morrow. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. Next item I have is Dogwood Trace Phase 2. I'm recommending approval of that final plat, and we have a letter of credit in the amount of $39,036.21.
Board entertain a motion.
So,
Motion by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item
Thank you.
C.
Item C, Sawgrass Lakes Part 1. I'm recommending approval of that final plat. We have a letter of credit in the amount of $58,350.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The item D, last one.
Yes, sir, Mr. Park, if we could we just table that till Mike gets through? Look, he's got the change order right there
Yes.
over with him. He's looking for it. Maybe just table that to the
fine.
later in the meeting.
Yes.
Maybe bring it back up under additional
This
business.
is the same one we looked at a few weeks ago?
Right.
Yeah.
It was tabled before.
Mike's going through that change order right now just to be sure we're hitting all that.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Mr. Slay.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Item A is a motion to set up, I'll need a motion to set a public hearing on July 17th for the Tony Cahill rezoning request, North Church Street, that's District 1.
Make a motion, set the public hearing.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor?
Next two items, B and C, can be taken together, just to set public hearings on August 7, 2017 for Dubois Dozer and Dirt Inc. and the City of Pendergrass Joseph Lee Gunner conditional use permits.
The board entertain a motion.
so moved.
Motion by Mr. Gaines. Second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Public hearings.
Yes, sir. Item D is a public hearing for the Media Display LLC signed variance request at 1208 Old Fannin Roads, District 5. We'll open that public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in the matter of the Media Display LLC signed variance request, 1208 Old Fannin Road? Anyone to speak on that matter? Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I see no one here to speak on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'll be appropriate to take action.
Does the board wish to entertain a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item E is a public hearing on the Reservoir Mini Storage, Inc. rezoning request, 100 Pelahatchie Shore Drive, that's District 2. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in the matter of the Reservoir Mini Storage, Inc. rezoning request. Is there anyone to speak in opposition on that matter? If you'll come forward, please. I'll need you to give your name and address.
My name is Margaret Seal, and I'm at 114 Commonwealth. The back of my property is across the road from the storage. I have some questions about this.
Okay.
When I spoke to Mr. J.B. Bounds, because this is PRV property, they told me that there's no zoning on PRV property, that it's only a land use permit. Is that correct?
Sorry?
Is that correct, sir?
I didn't hear your question.
It's only land use permits on PRV property, not zoning.
They control all land use through their leases. They follow the county's zoning regulations, and the county has the ability to affect zoning.
Okay.
So that's what this is about. This is the county. Doesn't have anything to do with PRV.
Okay.
The county has a zoning ordinance and a zoning map that applies. That particular piece of property has erroneously had the wrong zoning on it since we adopted zoning in '04. So this is nothing more than a map correction
Okay.
to reflect that the property is to be zoned the way that it's being used.
All right. Then
Because the mini storage already exists.
Yes, sir. The next question I have for the supervisors, since it is a one-story storage unit, if this goes back to the correct zoning, can that storage unit become a multi-storage unit, leveled, or does it have to stay one story?
Ms. Lawrence, do you know?
It'd have to come
Zoning
back,
would
it'd have to
affect
come
it.
back to us for approval, though.
I think it'd be PRV. I don't think
Well,
we'd-
still, we'd have to,
I don't think we'd have to
be a
approve
part of
it.
something.
Only if it was a variance.
I don't believe we'd have to approve it.
That's what we're
Yeah,
addressing.
the zoning issue
Issue of land
changed.
use is addressed by PRV. So we're getting the zoning fixed.
Just the zoning
He has
fix?
to go back to PRV to ask for permission to do whatever he's going to do.
If he wanted to change it
Comply with zoning.
or sell it or anything of that, correct?
I don't think it applies to us.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that's what we were a little concerned about. Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate it, no.
How are you?
This is one of those oddities
Where we're dealing with PRV property, and how that works when you got a state agency that controls land use. All right? So we now, is there anyone else to speak on that matter? Okay. I don't see anyone else to speak, so we'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action on that request.
All right, does the board wish to entertain a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Item F is a public hearing on the Clay Thurl rezoning request. This is Burnham Road South, it's District 3 property. This time we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Clay Thurl rezoning request. Anyone to speak in opposition to that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition to that matter. This is a rezoning request, doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing as far as development is concerned, only the issue of rezoning. And so at this time, we'll close that public hearing. It would be appropriate to take action.
We got a motion on the floor by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Slay?
All right, item G, public hearing on the anti-urban conditional use. This is 108 Johnson Lane. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the anti-urban conditional use permit. Anyone to speak in opposition?
Not in opposition, no.
Okay, come forward, please. Name and address.
My name is Deanna Simpkins. I am from Milam Law Office in Madison, Mississippi. We are friends with Mrs. Irvin. I just wanted to share a little bit about Ms. Irvin. She is an elderly lady. She's a widow. She has lived in a substandard trailer for decades on this property. She is simply wanting to have a new trailer on her property. It would only be an improvement to this property. So I just urge you to consider her circumstances when you're making your decision. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
She's removing one and putting another one in, an old one, putting a new one. Is it new or just newer?
It is newer.
Do you know how much newer? Renee, have you been involved in this?
And it may be, I don't have that information.
Okay, I'm her daughter. I'm trying, how you doing? I didn't know I was gonna make you. I'm actually trying to.
Come up for it, please.
My name is Minnie. I'm her daughter. Actually trying to get her a new trailer. I've been approved to get her a brand new one. So that's gonna be the thing.
Okay.
She's never had a new one. It's always been a used trailer.
Okay.
So, I mean, I just feel like she deserves something better.
Right.
She raised us.
That's what I was
So we're
just-
just trying to get her a brand new trailer, so this will be the last one.
I was just asking the question, so,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Minnie Ergen.
And where are you
Minnie
from?
Ergen.
What's your address? Address?
108 Johnson Lane.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak on that? We'll close that public hearing. This time it'd be appropriate to take action.
The board will entertain a motion.
Your district.
Yeah. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines. Second one, Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item H is a public hearing on the Tim Carpenter conditional use permit, 162 Pole Bridge Road. This is District 4. This time we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Tim Carpenter conditional use permit. Anyone to speak in opposition?
Good morning.
I'm Janelle Butler, and my address is 150 Pole Bridge Road, Cove. And I'm not here for opposition. I do not want to stop Mr. Carpenter from fixing his pond. My questions are, how long does it take? I understand it's 1 acre area that he wants the sand dug out of. And he's had equipment over there in selling sand or getting rid of sand now since last fall. There's old dump trucks sitting out there, a backhoe, big old barrels of gas, oil, carburetors. I admire him. He's got a beautiful place. He's worked very hard on it. I do not want to stop that. What I want to know is how long does it take to dig out a 1 acre area for a pond? Is there a time limit on that? And who's responsible for the road when he gets through? Does the county come in and fix the road, or do you require a bond from him to fix the road? What happens to the road? The road's in pretty bad shape already.
Is he the only one traveling that with heavy equipment?
Right now, yes, sir.
Well, one of his reasons that it's taken a long time is we've stopped him a few times to get the paperwork in order. I mean, so.
I have no problem with that.
That's why it may have started last fall, and it's still, because we required him to go back through a lot of paperwork and stuff. And, but he's under a time frame, not just with us, but with DEQ. Isn't that right? I mean, don't he have a window that is not very open?
He said that it wouldn't take him very long, but his stormwater permit with DEQ expires in August.
So he's gonna have to, he's not gonna get through. He's not gonna get through by August.
He could probably review that permit,
Yeah.
but I think it did have an expiration date in August for this year for the stormwater part.
Did he get a mining permit exemption?
He did. Man, we deal with dump trucks and logging trucks, and it's a bad thing, but it's a necessity because you can't build a house without usually a dump truck coming or bringing dirt or leaving, taking dirt away. This is a man that owns his property, and they built a pond, but it had the wrong dirt in the bottom, and now he's got a dirt guy that is gonna help him by taking that.
I don't have a problem with any of that. I understand all that. I just want a time limit.
I can't, because weather, I mean, if you've noticed since January, if we'd have give you a time limit in January, and we'd have got to June, and there'd been very little, I mean, think about digging the bottom of a pond out when it's got water, and it's staying muddy. With all the elements, Renee's office would be, and still, if we give you a time and we had these kind of rains, then he would come in and ask for an extension, and then you'd be saying, I lied to you.
Well,
What do you think within a year, though?
It shouldn't be a year. I mean, we've already been dealing with it. It shouldn't. And what about the roads? That's my more concern is the road.
We do have, I mean, that's probably my biggest problem I have in District 4, because we have a lot of log trucks and dump trucks, and we try to work with them, and if they are negligent and tear a road up, then our attorney and our road man try to do whatever they can to recoup it. But these people pay for their tags and taxes just like we, on cars, there's a lot more. So I can't keep them off the road. We just want to try to make them, we just try to make them be as careful as they can. We make them put pads and stuff where when they pull out, they don't leave dirt. But if they tear your road up, then we will put it on the schedule. Either they will have to fix it or we'll come back and do something to, where it's taken care of.
Well, if you're talking about dump trucks on the road, it's not if they tear it up, it's they're gonna tear it up. So, could you just tell, are y'all responsible for it? Is the county, our taxpayers, or is Tim? I admire him, he's got a beautiful place there, and I'm not trying to stop what he's doing. I just want some assurance that I got a new car, and I hadn't had one in 22 years.
I've never had one.
And, well, I got one, and it's a good feeling. But I want to make sure that I don't tear that car up on that road, because I want to keep it 22 years. So are we getting anywhere, or are we just not? We're wasting our time.
I can't tell you you're wasting your time. We are very sensitive on these matters, and I would hope, I would think that for sure that he would be through there in a year. But if it would be a year like we've had so far in the last 7 months, he may not. You can't get in there and dig in a pond when it's got water standing in the bottom. But hopefully, I think we're fixing to get in some drier weather. and he'll be able to fix that bottom of that pond. Now, if the road gets torn up and damaged, we will either, if he's negligent, we'll go after him. If he's not, then our road manager will look at it and evaluate it to see where it lies in amongst everybody in the county's got roads. And what we try to do is categorize the ones that need the most. We don't have just money out there, millions of dollars, and that we can go do everybody's road every year. So we have to categorize them. If it's
That's the
worse
reason I'm
than the
concerned,
others,
sir.
ma'am.
That's the reason I'm concerned.
Well, I
I'm
think our
concerned
road
too.
manager can monitor the situation, and if he does tear it up and make it any worse, then yeah, he'll be responsible for getting it back in the shape it was prior to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak on the Tim Carpenter conditional use permit matter?
Anyone?
How you doing? I'm Tim
Good morning.
Carpenter, and thank you for your time. And I agree with everything you said. I put a lot of money in this pond, and I've tried to do by the state recommendations. We are here to get a permit, and I was stopped at that time. I couldn't complete the work due to the fact the things that are out there on my property were assist and desist before we get anything else done. And I have not done anything. I've tried to do it in a timely manner, and I've tried to do exactly what the state and the county asked me to do. And, in retrospect, there is no items out there that are public nuisance that any other body has on their property. I'm just trying to get this problem fixed to increase my property value and clear up this situation I have. And I will do it in a timely manner depending on the weather. And I just appreciate everybody's time and concern. And I am regulated by the Department of State now to keep it up. And your retrospect of what we have to do out there to keep it to their classification, because they will inspect it while I am digging and repairing the pond. So in that retrospect, DEQ holds us to that standard. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Anything else? We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
I'll make a motion. Set it.
To approve it?
Approve it, I mean.
Yeah. Motion by Mr. Gaines to approve, second by Mr. Bishop. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item I.
Item I is a public hearing on the Richard Reed conditional use permit at 129 McCoy Drive. That's District 4. This time we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Richard Reed conditional use permit. Anyone to speak in opposition? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve by Mr.
Second.
Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop. Any more in discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item J is a public hearing on the Joe and Sue Johnson conditional use permit, 2244 Star Road, that's District 3. I'll open that public hearing and ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Joe and Sue Johnson conditional use permit. Opposition?
Good morning, my name's Joseph Head. I live at 2240 Star Road. I would just like to ask the Johnsons where this double-wide trailer is going to be located.
I believe it's gonna be on the south property line facing north, not, my memory serves right.
It's gonna be back behind their house.
Back behind their house.
Behind
Their house.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments, any other opposition on that matter? Okay. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item K is a consideration of and potential action to authorize the execution of a traffic signal services agreement between Rankin County and Stantec. It provides for the maintenance and repair of traffic signals along Spillway and Old Fannin, and Rankin County has maintenance responsibilities for those. So Stantec will be the service provider for maintenance and repair of any traffic signals along Old Fannin and Spillway.
Motion to approve.
Yeah, motion to approve,
Second.
Mr. Morrow,
I got a
second by
question.
Mr. Gaines.
I got a
Anything
question.
in discussion?
I have one.
Mr.
So
Morris?
this is just a maintenance agreement,
Yes.
just to keep them fair. It's not something, I mean, we can just sole source this?
Well, it is a service, and so they are the ones who are going to be
Okay.
providing the service.
Okay.
And it's not an issue of sole source. There's not been an RFP on this one, Gary.
Okay.
These are the go-to guys on traffic signal maintenance and repair.
Okay.
I have a question. We have a red light that's on Old Fannin currently, and on Vernon Jones Road, there's not a turn signal there. What, there's a development going on now off that road, and there's going to be even more traffic. What would it take to get a turn signal put in there? Would that mess up the whole, the way the system works currently?
No, sir, it would not mess it up, and if you go with this service right here, that's it we would get.
These guys do all the timing issues. They get into the boxes and make sure that the signals are speaking to each other and that they're timed properly. That's what this is, part of what this
Right.
is. It's a large part of what it is. So they'd be responsible for issues that come up where they're not signaling properly. Your question, though, Jay, is can we have installed a left turn signal?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be
I
something
mean, I
different.
knew that we couldn't add any more lights because it
Right.
would be an issue. I just didn't know if we put a turn signal,
Yes.
if that would be an issue.
Protected
I
left.
don't
Yeah.
think it would be any type of issue.
No.
All right. How do we go about getting prices on that? Who do they sell turn signals also?
I don't believe
It's not something we bought a lot of,
I
so.
buy that on a state contract.
It's on state
Okay.
contract.
All right.
It's
That's, I
all-
mean, it ain't
it's
something we
all-
do a lot, so.
I mean, we have to go through the state contract list, but I got a list the other day, Jay.
I'm just curious what it'll cost. I think we'll need one in the not so far.
Can we, unrelated to this particular action that we're doing today, can we have, assuming y'all want to go forward, can we have Mike and Mr. Buster communicate with Stantec after the fact and say, hey, price us this, tell us what we're dealing with here?
Yeah, that'd be good. I just want to know.
Just to get a price, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Okay.
All right, any more discussion? All right, we got a motion on the floor and a second. All in
vote.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, item L, is simply a discussion and potential action. If you guys want to have discussion and go ahead and take action today to set our hearing on our proposed Rankin County Development Ordinance and authority to publish a notice of hearing on that. We've been going over this. We've had our meetings with what we are referring to as the stakeholders. We've received comments. You guys have seen some additional commentary from your engineers about the proposal itself. We are at the point now where we're ready to take it to the next level, if y'all are, which is to have anybody that wants to comment on it come forward at a public hearing where they're noticed to be, and direct any questions or comments to you guys about the proposed ordinance. So we really just need to figure out when are we going to set the date, and can I have your authority to go ahead and publish a notice?
Well, I'd asked for us to, all go over this. We met individually, and I know what Steve and I talked about at our meeting and what we discussed, but I don't know if that's what you guys all discussed.
Terry Allen was supposed to cohesively put it all together because he was the common denominator in all the meetings. But if you want to set it up for the next work session, we can do that at the end of the month and have that discussion for us.
I mean, I think it'd be nice to get the projector up here, and so we all know what we're looking at in terms of storm drain pipes that we want the future to be.
Can I make a suggestion that we set our hearing off far enough to give you guys at least one, if not two meetings intervening to go through the details, so that at the time of the hearing, which is set off maybe 60 days, you guys have hashed it out completely, where on that 60th day we know exactly what it is that we want to
How about that
address.
mid-August meeting?
Would that work?
Yeah.
Go and get the
I mean, do
date
y'all
set.
not think we need to do that?
Oh, I'm fine with that, yeah, I just think go and get the date
I said let's
set.
go for the mid-August meeting, whatever that date is.
That's going to be the 15th. So that's about
So work
6
session,
weeks, about 6 weeks out from today.
work session, then we can go ahead and look it over,
Yes,
that'd be the end of the
Your
month.
July work session would be a great opportunity, your first August. I will point out to you, you've got budget, you've got tax appeals, so there will be some activity on those meetings in that early August tax time frame that could potentially drag your meeting out. I'm making you aware of that.
I guess my only comment or question on that, should we do it sooner with all the developments and all sitting on Mr. Buster's desk? The pile of them.
I would like to tackle it as soon as we can.
You've got a
you
July
have to go in there,
17 meeting
set
where
a
you could
special
have
meeting.
your interaction, and you could set your public hearing at that first August, which is August 5, right? I think it's August 5.
Could we have a special
No,
meeting
August
just
5th is,
to address
Sunday,
our,
Saturday, be 7th, be 7th, yeah.
Y'all don't want to work on Saturday?
I do
another
every
day?
day.
It's another work day.
It doesn't matter to me.
You're already working on Saturday.
Yeah, that'd give me a break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. So
I'm
you could-
good with setting a special meeting if y'all want, or we can do it and just stay longer at 17th.
I guess that's my thing on the 17th. If we could just plan on staying longer without an additional meeting.
The
Anybody
hard
have a
part
problem
about
with
setting
How long that
a
meeting
public
lasts.
hearing on a special date.
No. We were just talking about to go over it.
Just for you guys.
The board.
But anyway, we're gonna do it on 17th.
Y'all can recess out of any
Put it on the
meeting to a
agenda.
special date anytime you want to do that.
17th.
Miss Laura, put it on
So
the
get
agenda
Alan
for
here at
17th.
17th, please.
17th, and then you can go ahead and set the public hearing date. Don't you
Yeah,
have to
we
notify?
Yeah,
Set
you're gonna
that,
want to, you're
yeah.
gonna want to tell me to set it on August the 7th,
Okay.
if that's what we've decided on,
yeah.
okay? Because then it would be the 15th of
Yeah.
August if we
Yep.
go with the original plan. So
We
what
go
we're
ahead and set
saying
it, because you need
is,
certain days notice.
yeah.
Right.
what-
I'll put that
the
in form of
potential
motion.
act-
All right, motion to set the public hearing on the 7th.
Yes.
Add it to our agenda on the 17th. That'd be the motion that's on the floor. Is a second? I'll second it.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so just to be sure we got that right, it's on the agenda for the 17th, and then the public hearing is on the August, that first meeting in August. Yeah.
We'll go ahead and get a public notice out.
Correct.
Okay, so y'all, that motion was to authorize Ms. Laura to submit a public notice to
For
the
the
newspaper.
August 7th meeting.
For the
Right.
August 7th, that's
Correct.
correct. Okay,
All right, item L.
yes. That was item
I'm
L.
sorry,
So
item
item
M.
M would be consideration of and potential action to authorize the execution of a service agreement between Rankin County and GovEase Auction LLC. This is for the creation, implementation, and operation of an online auction portal for Rankin County's annual delinquent tax sale. We talked about this previously, sent out an email message for you guys. Our folks are here today from GovEase. If you have any additional questions about it, we're putting a couple of fine-tuned pieces of language in the agreement itself. Is still working on that, but all of the material terms, the substantive terms of the agreement are acceptable to me, including the fee
Right.
that is being charged, which I thought was magnanimous. I
These
appreciate
two
very
poker
much.
players on the end. Well played. Well played. All right.
I don't know how to play poker, but okay.
Jay's got a book.
What'd I do?
So your motion today would be to approve that service agreement, subject to my inserting the language that's acceptable both to the county and to GovEase, and
Motion
getting
approved.
it executed, but you'd be authorizing your president to execute the agreement.
All right, motion on the floor from Mr. Bishop.
We have a hand up in the back.
Hand up in the back. Let's get to, you want to get to the discussion side?
Come forward, please.
Craig, do we need to do that in the form of the discussion side? Or just
Yeah, it's-
comments
it's
in the
just
middle of the
discussion.
motion?
Y'all are discussing.
I'm David Walsh, 140 East Haven Drive in Brandon, and I'm a tax sale buyer for 28 years. And I just wanted to know if there was any public discussion regarding this.
They came to our last board meeting, we discussed it in our board meeting.
Okay, but it wasn't
We
announced to
didn't,
the
we
public?
didn't put a
or-
public notice out, it's not something we would need to do for that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I know that the legislator changed this 2 years ago to allow the online tax sales.
And we've been asking questions ever since that, because the way, we're not opposed to going online, but right now, we believe that Mississippi is at a disadvantage in the fact that we pay 5.5% state tax. When you go online, you open it to a larger group from outside that does not pay state income tax. We would like for you guys to consider waiting until next year, till we can address legislation to put Mississippians on equal footing.
So
That was
if
the issue.
you're outside of Mississippi, you don't pay that fee.
Right, if you're a buyer from, for instance, from Texas, from Florida, even some of the banks that come to buy. Right now, the offset was that there's a cost difference if I live here and I buy here. They have to send somebody here, so there's more expense for them to send a buyer here. But the issue becomes online now, that you don't know who's buying and where they're from.
Do we care, other than, I mean, I understand what you're talking about, if there's a 5.5% tax that they're not paying, but I would think that the state legislatures would jump all over that when they, if you've made them aware of it.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do. That's the reason we're asking for a delay before we do this.
They're not aware of that?
No, we talked to Mark Baker. We actually sent a letter out to all the legislators when this was happening, and the bill was passed without our knowledge. All of the chancery, or the, not chancery clerks, but the tax collectors that we sent to across the state said that, you know, this was a solution looking for a problem. And all of a sudden, it's like they went to the boards and wined and dined people at the boards and got them to, at their convention, and got them to agree to it.
I never saw these guys before last week.
And I'm not saying y'all, but I'm just saying that this is what.
We did have a problem.
This is what lobbyists.
We had a problem looking for a solution.
Right.
I mean, just if you came in here and this room was used for a week and it was people on top of each other, and we were going to either have to move it somewhere else and have expense and rewiring and all. But anyhow, we had a problem.
But in terms of the service they're offering, it's nothing but positives for Rankin County.
Right, and I'm saying that for the people that come to the tax sales in Rankin counties, I'm just asking, in the people of Mississippi, I'm asking to delay till we can consider legislation that would allow put Mississippians that buy at the tax sale. And there are tons of people that come to the tax sales, and they employ locals to come to the tax sale as well. They do that. Locals that buy here, when they have issues after the tax sale, and I think things that haven't been considered is the onus when there's more people from out of state buying that you have on the chancery clerk for records, because they call, the legal departments call and expect them to do all the groundwork, where locals come up here and do it themselves. And I think that Larry and them can attest to that. Anyway, we're just asking for more consideration and time before this thing is passed, just like the legislature did. When we wrote to a lot of the senators and made them aware of the issues, they said, you're right, this is a bad bill, we never should have passed this. But when they changed the legislation in the state legislature, they changed one section and one line for language to give tax collectors the authority to go online. But there are more state statutes that are tied to the process of a tax sale and all of the hair that goes with that. What you're opening yourself up for at the Chancery Clerk's office, if you go back and look at all the gray areas in the state that deal with tax sales and process, sheriff's notices, when you start opening yourself to the K Street attorneys in D.C., you're going to be hit with tons of lawsuits and all sorts of things, trying to research your process and what happened. I'm just, asking that you guys, I'm not saying that going online and these guys are a bad deal, or, putting it online is not the future. It is. But we need to consider all the circumstances before we jump into this. So.
Does any of y'all ever talk to Mark or anybody?
I'm just like Steve. First time we seen him come up was last week. So
all I ever heard was last week.
Yeah, but I think the point is, and I've talked to other boards over in Rankin and Hinds County and others, and when we start talking and I have a conversation with them one-on-one and the chancery clerks, it opens their eyes and they realize. And with all due respect, a lot of the Board of Supervisors
when you come in and say you can make this much more money is what the promise is. I think if you'll look at the records of what overbids have been and increasing over the last few years, they're getting there with locals. But when we address this issue, a lot of the Board of Supervisors, they're not really aware of the process and all of the other issues and liabilities that you open up for the county. So, anyway, that's all I have to say.
This is gonna create a lot of competition even outside the state. That's what you're telling me, I think.
Yeah. Eventually, what happens is the large banks come in, and they're the only ones buying, and they push out the entire local investors. You don't know who's buying at the tax sale. In Florida, they're actually overseas. There are people from overseas buying at your tax sale. And I think that there needs to be transparency and visibility of who's buying at the state tax sales. We would
I think our tax collector would know who's buying because that'd be registered before the sale starts.
That's true, but if you set up shell
And
companies.
you just wouldn't be able to sit in here and look across over there and
Right.
see it.
No, but if you set up shell companies, which a lot of the overseas companies do and the banks do, the other issue is about banks buying at the tax sale. Why in Mississippi would we allow banks like Wells Fargo, who did this out in Arizona, basically defrauded people and were owning the mortgage and double dipping and not paying the taxes that they were due to pay, using a shell company to buy the tax deed.
I think actually the mortgage holder wasn't really responsible for paying the taxes if their borrower was paying.
Yeah, but if it was held in escrow.
I think we're getting to an area where we make.
But anyway,
there's a lot of some of that stuff. A lot of that stuff ain't out about the state budget, like not on us.
Well, he's just bringing it to our attention.
Yeah, we got.
I'm not
talking about some of
surprised,
the issues he's talking about.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's a huge convenience factor for the county and the way this room is utilized. If there are liability issues that we need to be aware of, then that's what we have Mr. Slade here for, and Mr. Swell to let us know if this is not really a good deal for us.
You got input on that, Larry?
We have liability issues, of course, and everything goes to court. And then it's up to the judges to make the decision on the ones that filed, they bought a bad piece of property, whatever it may be. I mean, he's got a lot of good points. We're in our third year of this sale, and I agree with him. I'm not sure the legislators really sit down and knew what they were talking about and do it. They didn't have a Bob Marley there, a tax assessor, a collector there, I don't think, but it's just trend. That's where everybody's going.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and say it's right or wrong. What you do, your local people get bumped by Wells Fargo out in California or whoever, and it kind of bumps these guys who are your local guys. It takes a lot of the legwork off poor old Judy over here trying to do a tax sale. You do it online, but these guys handle it. I'm not saying it's good or bad or either way, but there's always liability regardless of what you do.
He said that they had more local people bidding actually than before.
Maybe so. I don't know.
Well, the 5% thing, I guess.
Can we address some of this?
Yeah.
Let's finish here, and then y'all will have a rebuttal.
Anyway, in my conclusion, I'm not saying that going online and going digital and the whole thing is not. It's something of the future, and that's not the issue. The issue is let's get everything cleared up and addressed first before we do this. If everybody in all the counties were online, we're not going to get the state legislator to listen to us because they're going to say, why should we do that? Because all of you guys gave in and did it anyway. It's not worth it. So we're asking, as a resident and a taxpayer who lives and votes in Rankin County, the only thing that I'm asking and imploring you guys to do is just delay it 1 year. We're already into August. A lot of the people that we hire around the state to go to tax sales, we haven't trained them on computers. A lot of them are elderly that look forward to the tax sale. It's more of a social event. Judy can tell you this as well when you come here. I know it's a headache. But they love coming here and doing it, and they eat at the restaurants when they come here, and they spend money locally. You lose all that when you go online. You don't have any of that. Now, a year from now, when we can get people trained and we can tell the ones that have already scheduled their vacation for this August to come to the tax sale because they like to do it, we've kind of come down to a window where we really didn't have enough time to do it as well. So
just give us a chance to address some of the issues and take a stab at it. And it may not work, but at least we would like a chance to make people aware, and that's all I'm asking.
I wish I could hear the legislature, some of their opinion. I mean, Judy, have you heard anything from any of them? I mean, some of those, that part is to me is valid, what he's saying, but I don't know, because like I said, first any of us knew is last Thursday.
Yeah. I can tell you this, that I was out of the country, and we didn't know when the bill was before the House. And all of us across the state got together, and we did an email campaign just to notify people, and it was already in final session. But I believe it was the representative out of Lamar County, and I can't recall his name, that actually wrote the bill. He was the chief, I guess, the prime author of the bill. The issue is that I went to public record, he was the prime author of 61 bills that year, right? A lot of the representatives of ours that we talked to told us that they didn't read the bill. You're right, this is a bad bill. Then I reminded them that session of the legislature, every bill was read 3 times. So something just didn't add up. But anyway, we've had that conversation.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
See if I can address a couple of the things that were brought up. One, the primary thing is that we are facilitator of the auction. Okay. The demographics of who's buying what right now in Mississippi, where he says that there's a 5% income tax, or 5.5%. Income tax in Mississippi, and out-of-state companies do not have to have that. Right now, most of the liens in the state of Mississippi are bought by out-of-state companies. This is not changing the demographic. Okay, U.S. Bank is one of the largest buyers. Judy can tell you all of who is coming in and buying these liens. We're not changing that. The demographics did not change in the counties we did last year. As far as the legislation, the legislation was sponsored by the Supervisors Association and the Tax Collectors Association. Okay, so they went through and understood the bill. Both of those entities and their respective legislative committees sponsored these bills. And like I said, this is not changing the demographic of who's buying. We had an increase in local buyers. If there's an income tax issue, maybe that's something somebody could bring up in the legislative session, but that really has nothing to do with the way this auction is conducted. It's not increasing the amount of out-of-state buyers or out-of-county buyers, and it's not decreasing it. It stayed the same. If anything, there was an increase in local buyers. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, other than that, just on the statutes, as Trey was saying, that's going to be an issue now. So whether you host a sale online or you do it live, manual auction, those statutes remain the same. So any legal issues that you may have online, you're going to have those same issues with the live auction as well. So that stays constant.
So what you're saying is, if everybody comes in here and these out-of-state...
Which we have now.
Right. And the out-of-state bidders have someone that comes here and bids, or either over the phone and has somebody sitting here, the 5.5% is going to be an issue. Well, people in the state going to pay it, people out or not.
That's happening now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not bringing. We have no effect on the income tax. These liens are being purchased by entities wherever they are, and whoever deems them valuable enough to buy, they come and buy. And most of them are being purchased. Judy could probably give you the list of who it is and where they're located. And most of them are, 90% of them, as far as most of the counties we deal with, are purchased from outside entities.
So,
And it sounds to me like maybe the income tax riddle needs to be solved regardless of whether Rankin County is online or not. That just needs to be solved.
That's what I was going to say.
Hopefully the legislature will figure that out as a potential revenue source. Get on top of that, introduce some language that closes that little loophole.
Mm-hmm.
But for our purposes here today, I think it's important to keep a couple of things in mind. Number one, Miss Judy would really like for this to happen. Number two, I think you guys are tired of your boardroom being locked up for 4, 5, 6 days at a time, and I know your staff is. And number three, it's an opportunity for the county to generate additional revenue that other counties, to the tune of about 30, are already involved with. So you see a track record there, it's there. And to the gentleman's point, we know that's an issue, but it's not an issue that Rankin County can solve.
I'll just say that from the standpoint of me personally, I never have participated in a tax sale. But because I didn't want to commit the whole day to, to staying up here just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. However, if you put it online, I can do my homework up front and then do what I want to do. So I'm encouraged with it. I think you're going to get, personally, I think you're going to get some more local participation that you normally do because of the timing aspect.
That's what we saw in the other counties last year.
I mean,
additional
I do.
local buyers.
Oh, I think all that goes without saying. Only thing my question was the 5% thing, but that's something that the legislature's going to have to deal with, not us. I mean, as far as income tax.
And that's
And
whether
us
you're
holding
online or
up,
not.
I don't see how that's going to change that. They either going to deal with it or not deal with it. And if it's a revenue for them, I can't see why in the world. I mean, I would think for sure they're going to address that.
Yes, sir.
So how far out are you guys planning on notifying the seniors?
We'll probably run 2 training classes a day online, and we'll also come here. We'll schedule a date to hold a training class here for any of the bidders who may.
And y'all are going to reach out to, you're going to get the list from Miss Judy, and y'all are going to reach out how far in advance?
We usually try to, we'll do that as soon as the contract's approved. So we'll go ahead and send out letters, email addresses if we have them, all of that information. Go ahead and try to get the date scheduled for them to come in as soon as possible.
So, okay.
We already have it.
Possible, but what, I mean.
We will, like I said, whenever the contract's approved,
we'll approve it in the next 30 days. When would you have your first?
We want to.
No, I'm just giving a reason out there.
We want to do it not too far away from the sale because we want it to be fresh.
Okay.
So 2 weeks or so before the sale seems to be the spot to do it. That way everybody gets to see the system. We can train them on it, and it's still fresh.
We'll approve you today, and we get everything worked out by the end of the week, first of next week. Then you'll be ready to start a training when.
July 31st is when we open up, when we start holding all of our training, is because it's also when we open up registration.
Okay, that's what
online.
I was trying to get a date.
Yes, sir.
You
July
answered
31st.
July 31st.
That's for every county. Registration and training begins on that day.
Okay.
Right.
So,
do you have any thing you want to tell us now?
I just think it would be a benefit to the county, to my office, and I don't understand the 5.5% income tax problem. That doesn't make sense to me, but is anything different than?
It's unrelated to the tax sale.
Exactly.
It has to do with the treatment of an income or revenue stream to the buyer. That's where that gets triggered. And the point being, if they're not a Mississippi resident, they're not subject to that Mississippi sale of
And they're not
income
now.
tax. Correct.
So that doesn't change.
Yeah.
I think it was he's hoping the legislature would change, but that's the legislature's going to change that, not us.
I really don't think whether Rankin County in or out of it's going to get their attention at all, because they hadn't given us attention on anything that we wanted.
Can we do this? What do you think about this? If we do maybe a resolution in support of taking the 5.5% away, would y'all be okay with that? To do away with the 5.5% for our local buyers to have to pay?
Seems like they do the opposite of what we asked. Maybe we
Well,
should
I'm
take it
just
the other
saying,
way.
in order to help this gentleman's song,
I don't mind trying.
Resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right, any other discussion?
For his free.
All right, with no other discussion? On the floor right now, we got a motion by Mr. Bishop to approve.
Yes.
Still, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Morrow. Any other discussion regarding the GovEase auction? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Ms. Laura Oster.
Thank you. I have 2 items this morning. The first item I have is authority to appoint David Morrow Jr. to the Family Master Services for the months of July 17 through December 31st of 2017, and authority to issue a check each month in the amount of $2,500.
Right, authority to pay, right, not appoint.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr.
No,
Bishop?
it's to appoint him. The
appoint,
order is
okay.
to appoint him, and
Okay.
then for us to be able to issue a check each month.
Motion by Mr. Bishop to approve, second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye,
opposed? Hey, for the record, Mr. Larry, I'm going to abstain for that vote. Just abstain from it. All right, item B, Ms. Laura.
Okay, the second item I have is approval of a memorandum of agreement between Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics and the Mississippi Gulf Coast High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, known as HIDA, and the Rankin County Sheriff's Department in the amount of $28,847, and that's for 2017, and authority for the sheriff to execute those documents.
All right, motion by the board for approval.
Second. Morrow moves.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Morrow, second by Mr. Bishop. Kind of throw a curveball at you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, that's all I have this morning.
I'd like to bring up one other item under additional business.
Nope.
Mike, about the, we tabled it, kind of pushed it back to the back, was the
Right,
item D under, so
right, the one we tabled. Right.
you've got the change order and all right there. All right, so it's the change order on the Woodlands issue. He's got the change
it's
order
not
set.
additional business, we're
He's
just
got-
going back.
I was kind of going back. So
What
be
you got on it,
approved.
Mike?
Got it inside the scope, and he spoke to Bulldog. Mike, you feel confident now? We're where we need to be?
Yeah, I'm gonna say we got enough left to, go ahead and release this and then they can finish up what they got left.
Okay.
In the meeting, they said they'd be there this week, finish up.
All right, with that, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Anything else additional business-wise? All right, executive session. Mr. Slay, anything?
I don't have anything.
Miss Oster's the one you better check with. So she's a surprise.
Sneaky.
That is a surprise.
All right, with that, we'll have recess until July 17th. Have a motion for that? I'll make the motion. Have a second? Anybody want to recess?
Yes.
Got a second by Mr. Gaines. We can just sit here till we find one, I guess. Hey, when Mr. Morrow gets hungry enough, we'll get a second on that recess. He's not
already
quite hungry
tapping
enough.
over here. I think it's coming.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Recess until the 17th.